Imagine standing in a trackless wilderness. No GPS, no compass, not even a single map. Every direction looks exactly the same. One wrong turn, and you could wander for days until hunger, thirst, or predators catch up with you. Now, imagine doing that, not once, but every single day. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors crossed forests, deserts, frozen valleys, and endless grasslands without ever unfolding a map. Yet somehow, they almost always found their way home. How? The answer is far more fascinating than simply following the stars. Ancient humans didn't see the world as empty wilderness. They saw something completely different, a giant living map. Every mountain, every river, every unusual tree, every strange-shaped rock, every smell carried by the wind, every sound echoing through a valley was information. To us, a forest might look like thousands of identical trees. To them, every path had its own personality. Modern scientists call this topographical memory, the ability to remember landscapes with astonishing accuracy. Instead of memorizing street names, ancient people memorized nature itself. A crooked river bend, a cliff shaped like an animal, a lonely pine tree standing above the others. Each landmark became another point inside an enormous mental map. The more they traveled, the larger that invisible map became. But landmarks alone weren't enough. The sky became their second guide. Long before telescopes existed, people noticed that certain stars always rose in the same places. Night after night, season after season, the stars created predictable patterns. One bright star might guide a traveler north. Another constellation could announce the arrival of winter. For thousands of years, the sky became humanity's oldest navigation system. Even during the daytime, the sun quietly pointed the way. People learned where it rose, where it disappeared, how its position changed through the seasons. Without clocks, without compasses, they could still estimate direction surprisingly well. But perhaps the most surprising guide wasn't something they saw. It was something they smelled. Imagine standing near the ocean. Even with your eyes closed, you can often smell the salt carried by the breeze. Ancient coastal people used that information constantly. The smell of salt, the scent of wet rivers, even the fragrance of certain forests could reveal where they were. The wind itself became another compass. Experienced hunters even listened to the land. Flowing rivers produced different echoes than open plains. Birds gathered near water. Certain insects only lived in damp environments. Every sound became another clue. Some indigenous cultures later transformed entire landscapes into songs. Instead of carrying maps, they carried stories. A single song could describe rivers, mountains, waterholes, safe campsites, and dangerous places in exactly the right order. As long as the song survived, the route survived. Some of these oral maps lasted for thousands of years. Perhaps the most incredible part wasn't the environment. It was the human brain itself. Modern neuroscience shows that special brain cells called place cells and grid cells help us build internal maps of our surroundings. Every time you learn a new route, those cells become active. Ancient humans depended on them every single day. Generation after generation, natural selection rewarded people who could remember landscapes better. Getting lost wasn't simply inconvenient. It could be fatal. The better your sense of direction, the better your chances of survival. Over thousands of generations, our ancestors became extraordinary navigators. Ironically, that ability still exists inside us. But today, most people rarely use it. Instead of remembering landmarks, we follow blue GPS lines. Instead of watching the sun, we watch our phones. Instead of learning the rhythm of nature, we wait for satellite signals. Scientists have even found that constantly relying on GPS may reduce activity in the brain regions responsible for navigation. Our ancestors exercised those neural pathways every day. Many of us barely use them at all. Yet sometimes, you may still feel it. The strange ability to remember exactly where your car is parked. The instinct that tells you which direction home lies. Or the feeling that a place somehow seems familiar after seeing it only once. Those ancient navigation systems never disappeared. They simply became quieter, buried beneath technology, waiting to be used again. So, how did ancient humans find their way without maps? Because they didn't need paper. The mountains were their landmarks. The rivers were their roads. The stars were their compass. The wind carried hidden messages, and their brains transformed the entire Earth into one enormous living map. Long before humans ever drew the first map, they had already memorized the world itself.